Now is the time, a time you'll look back on, a time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time, this moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome, take over. The time is now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newcastle Liverpool loaded reaction. As you can see, I'm on my lonesome tonight. I didn't even realize it was going to be the case, but look, we roll as always. And welcome to everyone in the chat. And I'm sure you'll keep me company tonight. And I think it's right in saying that intro definitely paints the picture of how we kind of feel maybe tonight as Newcastle United fans. That's for sure. But get your comments and questions in the chat. We'll have the conversation. We'll talk all things Newcastle. I want to know your opinions as well on all things NUFC. So make sure you get your comments and questions in. Yeah, it definitely gives us the idea of what we all feel. We'll have to get a message out to Daz to put the old one back, the upbeat intro back. That is for sure. But yeah. Not a great day for Newcastle United in terms of the result. We'll get into all the talking points as we go along. But look, Newcastle United 2-0 defeat. Not ideal in our preparations for the cup final, but it's not all doom and gloom. There are definitely some positives there, and we'll get into that. That's for sure. But first and foremost, the terribly sad news that was confirmed early on this morning over the death of Christian Atsu. Our thoughts go out to his family, his children, his loved ones. It wasn't the way in which we wanted to start the day. We were obviously recognising Sir Bobby Robson on what it would have been his 90th birthday. And we had Eddie Howe that was there, laying flowers next to his statue, which was a really, really nice touch from one manager to another. So that kind of started the day in a positive way. But then that news came in around Christian Atsu and changed the feeling around it all. So yeah, a really, really difficult one, to kind of start the day. But I did think it would get us up, it would get us going. We got the team sheet. I've got to be honest, I for one was very, very surprised with Elliot Anderson's inclusion in the team. It's clear that, in my opinion, he stuck with the tried and tested 4-3-3. I want to get your opinions in the chat. Do you agree? Do you think it was the right decision? Obviously, result aside and all the rest of it, were you happy to see Elliot Anderson in the team? Do you think, more importantly, that it was the right decision for that? We had, obviously, Wilson on the bench. Would you have preferred Gordon to start? I'll be honest, I thought Gordon was going to start. I was really surprised and shocked that he didn't. But look, we go with the manager and we trust Eddie Howe as always. And look, before the game, there were some lovely, lovely tributes from all the clubs that he's managed. They've come together, club together, and to show their support. And it was a really, really nice touch. And Bobby 90 was there in full view. And then we get onto the game. Look, I'm not going to do the run through of the game. Everybody knows who's watched the game what had happened, but just some clear moments in the game we'll talk about it. The Nick Pope situation, in which he gets a straight red card and he now misses the Carabao Cup final, which is a massive blow to Newcastle. It really is, and that really is the big moment in the game. We were 2-0 down at that point, so we're already flagging, but to lose Pope for that game next week is massive, a massive dent in our hopes of securing the cup. I want to get your thoughts and opinions on this. Without doubt, I mean, Life Goals has put no hope. With no hope without Pope, lads. Nicely put point there. Does everyone else agree? Do you think it's no hope with it without Nick Pope? It's a massive blow. He's been so good for us this season, but in my own honest opinion, I think it was a really poor decision. Some people said he didn't mean to, to touch it with his hands. I think if you look at this, it's very clear. You look at the arms and the hands and the way they're maneuvered. He was definitely looking to get his hands around that ball, and unfortunately for us, it means that he gets the red card. There was talk about after the game, Eddie Howe saying, he was asked the question, would there be an appeal? I don't think there'll be an appeal. I don't think you can appeal that, if I'm honest. And I think Pope knew his reaction. He was already down the tunnel, or halfway down the tunnel. He knew that it was going to be off. So we have to keep moving forward. I'll go through lots of other comments that are down there. John said, I'm thinking Liverpool's decline has been vastly exaggerated. I wouldn't worry too much. They're a good team and it's just that simple. Yeah, it's a fair assessment. They've got quality players, and those quality players really come to the forefront today. I thought Salah was good. I thought Nunes before the injury was good, caused a lot of problems with that inside running. We knew it was going to happen. We talked about it on away days. I was on Chris Khan's channel and he mentioned the same, that inside run was always going to be a problem in and behind. We had to try and find a way of stopping that, and we didn't, unfortunately. But yeah, and going back to Swanky, welcome Swanky, Wags. Hope we can appeal. I've just said it. I don't think we can. I really don't think we can. Jordan Team for Life say the same. There was talk about it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, even more of a crazy decision. Swanky Wags has put it as well. Longstaff was back in defence, which is why I don't know what you guys think, but there was a question of the actual decision in the red card in itself, because we did have men back, and the way in which Pope dives, and you'll see it best from this position right here, is that actually he's going away from goal. But looking at that bottom picture there, and I'll take the comment off, if he leaves it to Salah, do you think that Longstaff's getting back to stop that? Or do you think Salah's putting that away? Me personally, I think Salah's putting that away and it's 3-0. But would you have taken the 3-0 to have Pope in for the final? I certainly would have. So, that's just my opinion there with regards to that. Sydney's put, a defeat was coming. It happened after 20 minutes. Our performance after that was good, and we will win next week. And look, I hope you're absolutely right. And I have to say the performance was much better. It was almost like those three decisions, the 2 goals and the red card, almost kicked us into gear. After that point, it really did kick us into gear, and we actually started playing some decent football. We can talk about individual players as we go along. I won't do a kind of a run through in regards to ratings. I'd rather know what you guys think, to be fair, on various different things, and get your questions in and your opinions on all things. Newcastle United, Yano's put, they're not a good team. We were a match with 10 men and we are way off the finished team yet. I agree with you. I think, if anything, that performance tonight showed us that there's development left in this team, in this squad of players. There's more work to be done. We are nowhere near the finished article. And yeah, we did match them with 10 men. We actually, at times, and Jurgen Klopp said it in his presser afterwards, we actually looked better at times than Liverpool with 10 men. And that just goes to show that if we'd have continued to play the way we did in the first 5 minutes, where we really pushed them back, and if we were a little bit more solid in defence, we could have really caused them some problems today on an even keel. But the 2 goals hit us very, very quickly, and it's hard to recover from that to try and get yourself back in the game. And then the red card adds to that as well. Surely the club should have not allowed Dubravka to play domestic cup at Man United in case he returned in January. You know what? It's a difficult one. Can you agree that with a team that you're loaning a player out to? Can you say, oh yeah, we want you to loan him, but not play him in the cups? Is he really going to play in anything else? You know, maybe Europa at best, but he was never going to play in the Premier League. So what was the point of them then loaning him? Which then brings a completely different question: is why did we loan him in the first place? But you know, that's one that will surely drag on. John Marcus has put, I'd man mark Rashford. He's on fire and he has to be stopped. Look, many have tried and failed recently to stop him. He drifts from left to right. He plays as a frontline striker. He will play 3 or 4 different positions over the course of the game. It's hard to man mark somebody when they're playing with that level of confidence. However, we've got our back 4 to choose from, our trusted back 4. And I believe that we've got enough to stop someone like Rashford on the day. But it's just whether we can do the other bit, the other side. Can we get the goals? Can we cause them enough problems? Gary's put Liverpool VAR cheats and always have been. I don't remember any decisions where I thought they were cheating tonight. The VAR was the VAR. It was a red card for me. Pope deserved to get sent off. Can't remember anything else. For the goals, neither were offside. They weren't even close, to be fair. So I think they were quite fair. There was no issues with that. Roger Cook's put, Pete, do you think Gordon has now passed the cameo role? He looked good. Worked with Maxi, who was, in your opinion, man of the match next week. Well, he can't play in the cup final. Gordon cannot play in the cup final, so that's a big issue right now. The positive is we've got Bruno back, which is brilliant. He's back in the team. We need him. We need his creativity. We need his ability to be calm and collected on the ball and to find those passes that other players in the pitch cannot do. But with Gordon, I've got to be honest, guys, I was really, really shocked that he didn't start today. Playing against, as an Evertonian, playing against Liverpool, it'd have been bang up for that game. He can't play in the final. She could have given him 90 minutes and just said, you know what, go and do your stuff. So I'm really surprised. I had it on away days. I didn't get to show you the tactics board, but I had Gordon playing in that number 10. I didn't have Anderson playing. And I thought it'd be a strict 2 with Joe Linton and Longstaff. So I'm really kind of disappointed that he didn't actually play. I wanted to see him, and we need to see more of him, and he needs minutes because he wasn't really playing for Everton until, he wasn't really playing up until he actually moved and signed for Newcastle. So for me, I just feel he should have played today. It was the perfect game for him. Life Goals was put on a separate note. Chris Wood scored a leveler at Man City today. Do you think that secures the 15 million move? Life Goals, if you've not already heard, before the game today, the move's already been made permanent. I think that would have been made permanent yesterday. I think there was only a few appearances which triggered the deal. And I think, if I'm right in thinking, Martin Hardy wrote the article, it works out to 19 million overall, including the loan fee, which is a hell of a deal for Newcastle, and this is why they ended up letting him go. But yeah, Swanky Wags has put again, Pope did try and head the ball first. The arms afterwards were instinctive. You're right, but you're not going to get away with it. That's the problem. You're just not going to get away with it. He did go for his head. He did try to head it. You look at where the ball actually dips. He probably could have used his feet, but because he had so much momentum, he's just tried to throw his body at the ball, and then he knows that Salah's coming in, so he's almost tried to kind of like sneakily protect it. But with VAR nowadays, you can't get away with it. You can't get away with it nowadays. And they're absolutely right. Get behind Karius next week. We need to get behind him, show the support. We really, really need to get behind him. And, you know, what a way to quieten your critics. He got a lot of stick for his performance in the Champions League final for Liverpool. How great would it be if he ends up being the reason why we win the cup final next week and doing the biz for us in goal? You know, he's not a bad goalkeeper, far from it. But obviously history and certain games that have stuck out are the reason why he gets a bad rap. But let's get behind him, that's for sure. We've been needing to kick up the arse. Draws have become too regular. Craig Lee's put that comment on there. I would agree with you. We need to get out. I got hammered last week for tweeting to say we were in a slump. We are in a slump compared to what we've been this season. And we needed to kick up the arse to get out of that. And today, and what happened today and going into the final next week could give us that kick up the backside. Let's face it, guys. We, after Sunday, only play one game a week, apart from the rearranged fixture with West Ham at the Olympic Stadium. We play one game a week, so we will get back up to fitness. We will give the players a rest. Players will come back fit. I think going into the final next week, I think we've only got obviously Kraft's long term, but we've only got Willock. That's touch and go. Target today played in the under-21s and scored a goal and got an assist. So he's back amongst things. He'll probably be in the squad Sunday. So Willock's our only question mark. Obviously Pope and Kraft aside. So we've still got options there to choose from as a squad. Wilson coming on today, playing 20-25 minutes, was a positive too. So Maurice Kennedy thinks that the wheels are falling off. No, it's not the wheels falling off. You know, we are deserving of a dip over the course of the season. Okay, every team has one. Liverpool have had one that's lasted God knows how long. You know, Man United have had their dip at the beginning of the season. Man City have had their dip. Arsenal have had their dip and may have another one again. That's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean that the wheels are falling off. We were never ever going to go through the season only losing one game or winning every game. Like, it was never ever going to happen. But it's how we manage that. It's how we deal with it. It's how we get out of that slump and how quickly we can do it. If we can get through it quickly, and the best way to do that is by picking up a trophy next Sunday. If we can do that, that will kick us on for the rest of the season. I've got no doubt about it. A few others are saying about can Pope's red card be appealed? I don't think it can at all. Fox has put very proud of the lads today. Great effort after the red card. Just one of those days where everything that could go wrong did. And when it's against elite opposition, you pay for it. Keep our heads up. Yep, I would agree with you. Yep, keep our heads up and we just keep pushing on because things will get better. Life Goals has put Elliot Anderson isn't a central midfielder, he's a wide forward. For me, I've got to be honest, people may not agree in the chat. He should have gone on loan. He should have gone on loan in January to a team in the Championship, someone like Burnley, Sheffield United, where he's going to play at the top end of the Championship, play minutes and dominate games. He should have gone to a team like that in this window. He shouldn't have stayed at Newcastle. Being on the bench and playing minutes here and there is not ideal for his development, in my opinion. And I do think in the summer he probably will go on loan and have a full season elsewhere. But I think it should have happened this season, personally. And I wouldn't have started him today, personally. I would have gone with Gordon. I think Gordon needed to play. Swanky Wags, sheer guts from the guys. Get the final out of the way, hopefully winning it, and we'll rise again. That is for sure. Paul King's put, we're never going to beat Man United at Wembley. Sick of hearing how our players are tired, playing once a week. Man U had Barcelona on the ropes Thursday. They're playing a lot better than us. Look, Man United fans are putting us as favourites. They're the ones that I've had a Man United fan who I know quite well, who actually lives in Newcastle, Jamie. And he said about Newcastle being favourites. Man United are favourites. I don't care about the game on Thursday. Man United for years have been primed and prepped to play 2 games a week. Their squad has been primed and prepped to play Champions League on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a game on Saturday, Sunday, or a game on Thursday, play Sunday, Monday. Their team are programmed and trained to do that. Ours is not. We've got very little amount of players that have played European football. You know, you've got the likes of Isaac and Botman in recent years, Bruno Gomes in recent years that have actually done it. All the rest of the squad have just played for Newcastle or just played in the Premier League. So they are primed and prepped for it. We're not. So I don't care about the Barcelona game on Thursday for Man United. They are the favourites. We're going into this the underdogs, and that's exactly where I want us to be, because I want us to pull up trees. I want us to cause problems. I want us to throw the history books out there and make a massive difference. And I still have hope. I still believe that we will beat Man United. I really do. So Paul King, keep the faith, keep with the team. Look, things will get better. There's no doubt about it. We keep moving on. Get your questions in, guys. Keep those questions going. I've got Yano. Loaning Dubravka wasn't the problem. Accepting him back was. The fact that he was cup-tied should have automatically meant that he didn't get back on the bench. I agree with Yano 110%. Put comments in the box. Let us know. Let us know whether you agree with Yano. I agree with him. I remember when he came back on one of the loaded shows, and I said I didn't want him back. I'd have carried on with Karius on the bench. He chose his colours in the summer, where he had the opportunity to stay, but he jumped at the chance at Man United. At that point, if he'd have come back on loan, if his loan fell through at Man United, I'd have just sold him off or loaned him out, got him out the door. But he came on today. He was all right. He was all right, but you can tell the levels between him and Pope in goal. In what they do in goal. Obviously, Pope's decision today was poor, but Pope's levels to Dubravka, and he shouldn't have come back in. I agree with that 100%. Roger, he is cup-tied, definitely. Someone, I think Craig's, Craig's initial point said Gordon played Wilson in again. Wilson wasn't on it at all. I'll be honest, I thought Wilson was going to bag that. I really did. I thought, again, you could say it was a good save from Alisson, but equally, I thought it was partly poor finishing as well. I thought Wilson could have done better. But look, it is. Daniel Kane said terrible at the back. I've got to be honest. If you look at the first goal for me, there was someone on Twitter that said, that Maxi was kind of like left ball watching, and may well be the case. But once that ball gets played in, the space that Nunez has should never have happened. Shaw is far too up the pitch. He's literally got sucked to the ball, and Nunez is whipped in and behind. He should have been closer to him. And Trippier had a decision to make. Do I go with Nunez, or do I worry about the player behind me that I'm marking? And he was caught in no man's land. And there was a big mix-up between Trippier and Shaw of where they should have been positionally. But what I was most disappointed about with that first goal is, if you watch it back, the reactions to try and recover that ball from both Trippier and Shaw were really poor. They almost kind of gave it up and just were like, yeah, have the shot. Really disappointed with that. Watch it back. If you disagree, that's absolutely fine. But I've watched it a few times now, and I thought their recoveries to try and win that ball back were not good. And some people say it's in a split second, but I think Shaw could have made further ground on Nunez. So when Nunez takes a shot where Shaw is, he could have been a lot closer to that ball and potentially put pressure on him, as could Trippier. And I thought that could have been better. The second one, Trippier should have just continued with his man. If he'd have continued with Gakpo wouldn't have had the open shot that he did have to beat Pope for the second one. So yeah, it's again poor tracking from Trippier with regards to that. And I tweeted that earlier. It was just individual mistakes that let us down. Pope for the red card, individual mistakes that let us down. But it happens. It happens in games. And look, let's face it, our back five have been outstanding this season, the best in the league, still the best in the league, even by losing 2-0 tonight. So look, I'm not gonna. I don't think anyone should hound them at all because they've been outstanding. Looking forward to seeing Gordon play with our number one striker. Who's our number one? I think Isak will play moving forward. I don't know if he'll play in the final, which might pose a few questions from people in the chat. I don't know if he'll play in the final. I actually think Wilson might well play in the final. For me, I'd play both. I'd play them both and just go for it. But I do believe that moving forward, Isak will be our number one striker, and we're going to have to slightly change the way we play to get the best out of Isak. But I think Gordon playing in that little hole or on the left or right moving forward could be a good thing. With Gordon, he was okay today. But I think we'll see the best of Gordon next year. He'll have 6 months to build into the team, get used to the way we play. I can see Gordon being the guy next year that really kind of pulls up trees, has a good preseason under his belt, hopefully playing a little bit of European football as well. I still believe we'll get Europe, no doubt. And I think he'll really kick on next year. I really, really do. So that's just my thoughts on there. PDK put we let 3 players go in January, got 1 in. How has January not fucked our season? I'm not sure who that was referred to. It might be someone further up in the chat, but yeah, it has affected us. It has affected us because we let players go and we haven't replaced them. In particular, that centre midfield, that's for sure. And look, there's put Anisette Maximin was on fire tonight, and he got Sky's man of the match, rightly so. I thought he was the best player on the pitch, even including Liverpool players, in my opinion. Some people may not agree with that, and that's okay. But yeah, I just think that Maxi was very good tonight. He really, really created a number of really good openings, and he was the one player that Liverpool were genuinely scared of. They were genuinely scared of him today. As soon as he gets the ball, they back off. They don't want to know. They get 3 or 4 men around him. What I loved about that is that they just kept giving him the ball and saying, you know what, go at him. What we saw with ASM today is what we didn't see against West Ham that frustrated me, and what we didn't get to see because we didn't get the opportunities against Bournemouth is to run at his man and attack him. The best players are relentless. They'll say, I'm going for you again and again and again, and fullbacks hate it. That's what we need from Maxi. Some of his runs when we were down to 10 men, managed to get his corners, creating chances off nothing. Had to give a great little ball in for Isak in the second half, early on in the second half, which Isak just put over the bar, creating moments. On another day, he walks away with 2 assists, maybe more, to his name. If Miggy finishes his chance in the first half, which I think he should have, and Isak takes his chance, he's walking away with 2 assists, and we're looking at stats and all the rest of this stuff in a very, very different light. But he's creating moments, and it goes back to the argument. And some people may have a different opinion of Maxi, and that's absolutely fine. I think Maxi needs games. He needs games, and you can see with a run of games, and Eddie Howe's talked about it, with a run of games, I do believe that with Maxi, you'll start to see the best. And what better way to create more moments is next week in the cup final. That's what I see anyway. Brian Mahone has put Trippier's form has dipped. It was really dipped, I think, but he owes us nothing, so hopefully picks it back up. Yeah, it might just be down to games and tiredness and various other things. Again, another player that's created a number of moments in games recently, but players haven't taken them. Brian, you're talking about Trippier may have dipped in form, but he's given our team opportunities where he could have probably in the last 2 games against West Ham and Bournemouth walked away with 2 or 3 assists in both of those games. And if he gets them, we're looking at Trippier in a completely different light, but he is continuing to create chances. The biggest chance creator in the Premier League this season. And you're right, he is allowed to have a dip in form. He's been outstanding for us, our captain, without an absolute doubt. William Kane, top man, you agree? Play both of them. I would. Wilson, Isak. We need to go for the jugular. We haven't won. We haven't played in a cup final for 24 years. And I do believe, for as good as Liverpool were tonight, I think Man United's defence is not as strong as Liverpool's. And it's weird to say that because Man United are higher in the league than Liverpool. But I think individually, Man United's defence is not as strong. And I think we can cause them problems. And they haven't got a goalkeeper like Alisson. That's for sure. And that's the thing for me. We're creating chances, but we need to take them, and we need as many players on the pitch that can take chances. We know Bruno can take chances. We know Wilson can take chances. We know Isak, when he gets them, can take chances. We know Miggy, top goal scorer this season, 10 goals, can take chances. Play them. I don't know how Eddie Howe's going to put them into this team. He can make that decision, not me, but I think we need to go for it on Sunday. First and foremost, we need the first goal. If we get the first goal, we've got something to hold on to or something to build on into the game. I think that could be amazing and really build us for a fantastic final. Jordan 2 for Life has said, let's be honest, most of the fan base hated to see Wood on the pitch, and now he's gone. Some blame the club. It was a great deal. Shelvey leaving hurts us, but Howe didn't want an unhappy player staying. I get it, but I just think the club should have done more to get the player in, to replace Shelvey, to do more. It was a mistake. I think it's clear. I think everybody around, including the owners, know that it was a mistake. We didn't get the replacement in to buffer the squad. That I don't believe will happen again. And it's part of learning. It is part of the learning when you're building a team to play at the highest level, in my opinion. Life Goals has put, so Pete, when Miggy, Gordon, ASM Wilson, Joelinton, Willock, Bruno, Sean, and Isak are all fit, who's your front 6? Wow. That's a tough question. Personally, I think we're gonna. I'm thinking on my head, off the top of my head, I'm thinking obviously about the cup final, but I think that's a really, really tough question to answer. I might have to come back for that one. But yeah, it's a great one, a great question. I think we might have to change formation. I think we might have to play with a number 10. I would play. Come back to me. That's a tough question. I need time to think about that one, but great one. I'll star that one. Life Goals. Just very, very quickly, whilst you guys are here, thank you so much for watching the show. Over 200 watching, which is amazing. If you haven't clicked the like button, just click that like. And I've seen a few in the chat that new to putting comments in tonight, so welcome to you. Come and subscribe. We are well on the way to 6k. Come and help and show your support for all things Loaded Mag and UFC. You know what, I'll put that question up again actually from Life Goals. What would your front 6 be to everyone else in the chat? I'm interested to see your front 6. I need time to think about this because I'd be like maybe leaving out players that I think maybe should be playing. It's a tough one. The one thing I would probably say with certainty is that somewhere in that front 6 we have to have Bruno and we have to have Joelinton because they're so crucial to us in the way we play. I thought Joelinton was brilliant again today. Played like he was 2 men at times. From a defensive point of view, but Bruno and Joelinton have to play in this team. All the rest of them are up for debate, in my opinion. for various different reasons. But what are your front sixes, guys and girls? Put your comments in the chat. Let us know what your front sixes will be. And thank you for coming a member. Brian Mahone, a YouTube member. Welcome to the Loaded Mag NUFC family. There will be a competition coming very, very soon where there will be prizes up for grabs. We have got them ready and they'll be coming. So all members for Loaded Mag NUFC will be put in for that draw. There's some great prizes on. We do good prizes on Loaded Mag NUFC. So we've got a couple coming very, very shortly. So keep in touch with that one. They'll be on the shows very, very soon. So thank you for Brian becoming a member. The super chats are open. We appreciate all the donations and support that people give to the channel, as always. So throw them in too. And yeah, just going back to Christian, absolutely heartbreaking. It really, really is. The man cloud, that is for sure. Senk's coming with his front six already for the Carabao Cup final. This is so he's gone with ASM, Isaac, and Miggy as the front three, and then Joe Linton, Bruno, and Longstaff. That's not a bad shout. Not a bad shout at all. Does everyone agree with regard to that? That's not a bad shout at all. Not a bad shout. What other ones have we got in there? There'll be one or two others that'll be popping up. But Gallagher Brown, welcome to the channel. I think we will 100% be okay with a 10 next year. I genuinely think that we will change formation at some point. We will transition out the 4-3-3 at some point. I think it fits us really well right now. But with the likes of Gordon coming in, it builds and asks a problem. We saw Isaac play as a number 10 and score the winning goal against Fulham. We're linked with another number 10 heavily. You guys and girls know I talk about him a lot, James Maddison. If we're going to get someone like him in, he can play on the left or the right. I think he can play in the number 8, but he is a number 10 as well. So I do think at some point we are going to change the way we play and structure that a little bit different. So really good point there. So Ian's put it's a slow build. Get used to it. It is a slow build. It's not going to be a Man City or Chelsea. That is not for that is for sure. So it will be a slow build, but we will get there. I'm confident that we will get there. Mark, welcome Mark to the channel. We're not scoring. That's the problem. You're absolutely right. I messaged into the Geordies Down South chat, and I said, you know, what really concerns me is not actually necessarily the goals, because obviously we're not scoring goals. I think that's clear for everybody. But we're not actually we're not shooting when we could. I mean, I think we had like 13 shots at goal today. But we could have quite easily had double, maybe triple that. And we work opportunities to shoot, and it's almost like we're waiting for the next pass. We're waiting to pass the ball. We're not looking to build create an opening and take a shot and work the keeper. We're always looking for almost like that walk-in goal. We're trying to walk the ball into the net. We don't need to be that way because we've got guys that can finish, but we just don't see it enough. And that's a bit of a concern for me. But look, it will turn around, no doubt about it. Adam, top man, welcome to the chat. He's gone with Isaac, Miggy, and Gordon, and then Bruno, J7, and Longstaff. People agree with that. That's an interesting front three and front midfield three as well. I mean, the midfield three would mean that Willock would stay out. Obviously, the front three would mean Alice at Maximum would stay out. Still brilliant squad players to bring off the bench, but are they your go-tos? Let's see. Foxy said congratulations to Chris Wood. A lot of unnecessary jokes by our fans about his ability, but it turned up with a big goal today versus one of the best teams in Europe. Yeah, fair play. He was in that position, no doubt about it. PDK has gone Bruno, J7, and Willock. So Willock's in PDK's midfield three, and then Gordon, Isaac, Miggy, same as Adam for the front three. Hudson, up the Reds. Well, congratulations, you guys won. Deserved the 3 points in the end. Fair play to you. We are always fair when necessary on this channel, that's for sure. Swanky Wags has gone Isaac, Almiron, and ASM as his front three. or her front three, sorry, Julie, and Joe Linton, Bruno, and Longstaff as the midfield three. So that's an interesting one as well. We've got Minnesota Mags, Bruno, J7, and Maxi in the number 10. Interesting. So change of formation there, Minnesota Mags. And then you've got Gordon left wing, Mickey right wing, and Isaac up top. Interesting change of formation. I do think it's going to happen at some point. Put your comments in the chat whether you agree or not. It will happen at some point, I do believe. Whether we do it when we secure Europe, whether we do it in Europe and maybe not in the Premier League or vice versa, I don't know. But I do think that we are going to change tactic at some point, and we're going to change the formation. I think it's part of not just our evolution, but I think it's part of Eddie Howe's evolution as manager. We'll never play a front six from the start, maybe five at most. I think, Geordie, two for life, I think it's just how we set up. So we normally play as a midfield three and a forward three. So I think we're just referring to those 6 players in those positions. I think, one or two Minnesota Mags has put Maxi in a number 10 role, or one or two have put like a midfield 3 in there as a sitting midfield 3. But I think that's what people are referring to with regards to the front 6. Craig Lee, I'd play 4-2-3-1. So Bruno, Joe in that midfield pocket with Almiron, Isaac, and ASM, and Wilson up top. Let's go get at them. Yeah. I wouldn't argue with that team either. I really wouldn't. There's some good teams coming out here. Roger Cook has put Bruno, J7, Longstaff as a midfield 3, then Gordon, ASM, and Isaac. So no Miggy in there for Roger. Interesting one. January transfer, we could sign 1 or 2 players more. We could have. You're absolutely right saying we could have. But yeah, I think everyone knows that Gordon can't play in the final. I think the original question was regarding, from Life Goals, the front 6 moving forward, just when they're all fit. I think some people have put their front 6 for the final. Some people have put their front 6 moving forward. So yeah, I do. I think they know that that Gordon's cup tied anyway. I think there's a bit of a conversation here with regards to. So Ian's put, you've included, I've got carried away, our squad is miles away from the top 4. And then Yano's come back and put in, our squad depth is way off top 10. We've really overachieved this season. And yeah, nobody expected us. Let's be honest, let's remember, nobody expected us to be in the position that we are right now at the beginning of the season. If anyone thought that we would be going into approaching March in 4th place, like, you'd be lying. I don't think anyone would have thought that. So there were some people that thought we'd be top 6. I thought I was willing to take anything from 10th to 8th as part of our transition. For me, we've massively overachieved from where I thought we would be. But now we're there. Let's try and secure it. And we've got the games and we've got the advantage of playing 1 game a week and keeping players fit to ensure that that's the one focus, that one game every week, and we can leave it all out there. Once the final's done and hopefully we've got the trophy in the cabinet, we can then focus on that 1 game a week. But yeah, in terms of the squad depth, we are not ready for a European campaign the way we are right now. We've got to turn that around. Going into the summer, we need to make multiple signings. But we also need to let multiple players go. So there's going to be, I think, this summer, a very busy summer. There's going to be a lot of ins and outs with regards to that. That is for sure. There's going to be a lot of movement with regards to players coming in and coming out, because it has to be. We have to be European ready if we're going to play European football. That's for sure. But I'm no longer on my own. Someone's come and join the chat with me. And really, really appreciate it. I think he's been to the game tonight. So welcome in, Richard. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I didn't realize you were going to be by yourself tonight, mate.
No. I'll be honest. I didn't. I turned on to log on to start the show, and there was no one here. So I put it in the chat. I was like, "Where is everyone?"
No, I wasn't planning. I wasn't planning on being on, because obviously by the time you get out of the match and then they get back home out the traffic and all that sort of, I thought I'm going to be pushing it tonight. So I've literally just had a quick bite to eat. I thought I'll go give Pete some company for a little bit.
No, top man, appreciate it, mate. And you were at the game, so let's just get your reflections. I've given mine. So many people in the chat, way over 200, have given their opinions on things. Look, disappointing defeat, but with all the circumstances that have gone about, look, what are your initial thoughts now? Now you've had some time to think about it.
It was a wee walk. So it was for the game itself. It went through so many different motions in that, especially in the first half. That the first 10 minutes, it felt like we were the team on top. We were going to take the lead and score. Obviously, Miggy missed that. That 1-on-1, which perhaps if it had been that Rich Vader form like a few months ago, he might have put that away. And to be fair, I think obviously I was listening to the show. I was having something to eat. You mentioned he should have scored it, and I agree. He should have buried that one past Alisson. I think he probably took that first touch though. Took him probably about half a yard too close to Alisson though. Yeah. But obviously, I would still expect them to score a 1-1 with that. And then that 15-minute spell from when they scored to when Pope got sent off, it just felt like, for me, when we were watching it in the stadium, it just felt like the worst spell of football this season. Yeah. Full stop. Everything that could have went wrong went wrong. I was in line with where the edge of the 18-yard box for where the guy Cody Gakpo was offside, and we were adamant he was offside from where it was. It just, see my son showed us the still afterwards, because obviously we don't get the replays in the ground, and we couldn't believe he wasn't offside. Then on the still, it looks as though Burns played him on. I don't know if that's what was happening when you watched if you watched it live this afternoon and stuff like that, but I don't know whether Burn played him on at left back.
I think it was Trippier.
Was it? From the still, the still wasn't a great angle, to be fair. It was obviously side on like that. And I was thinking it looked like Burn, but it might be true. I don't know. And then I don't know what Pope was thinking of. I still don't understand why he didn't just come out and kick it. I know obviously he might have thought come out for a header. Like, he did it. He's done it before. He went out. He got a header in the first half, but obviously the ball's out higher. But I don't understand why you don't just kick it. Or even if let the ball hit you as a keeper, and the ball will still go out for a throw or something like that. I don't know what possessed you to try and go for a diving header 1 yard off the floor. Yeah, it's complete rush of blood. It's like that's something I would expect from Jordan Pickford, because he can be that rash and stuff. Nick Pope's normally quite composed, cool, and it's even in a pressure situation, but I don't know. Has he been spending too much time with Jordan Pickford? I don't know. At the England camp, has something rubbed off on him? But I don't know. I can't believe it. And to be fair, I think a lot of the crowd where we were just in utter shock what was going on. Yeah. And that the spell just before when they scored the 2 goals, it felt as though it was like it was going to be damage limitation from then, because it looked like one-way traffic after that. But to be fair, from the rest of that half onwards and to the full-time whistle, Newcastle were outstanding. I cannot fault any of the lads that played. They ran their socks off. And as I said, you've mentioned it previously when I was listening, Newcastle created some fantastic chances when down to 10 men. Obviously, the chance that got off Maxi, which, it got the deflection, Alisson saved it, hit the crossbar. Then you've got the Burn header as well, which hit the crossbar. Then you've got the Wilson. I still don't know how Wilson missed that chance in the set. I don't know. I think he should have. I still think he should have went with his right foot rather than his left foot and try and lift it over the keeper. Whereas with his left foot, it was cut and he hit it more side foot, so it was like flat. Yeah. And it obviously it was straight at. He was still going across the goal with it as well. If he perhaps got with the left foot, he should have went to his knee where it was nearest to him. Do you know what I mean? The left side of the goal. If you're going to go with the right foot, then go obviously try to lift it over Alisson. So I don't know whether he's just. I don't know if he's feeling a bit of pressure at the minute, because obviously Isak's on, since he's come after the World Cup, he hasn't been himself. He's there's loads of times when we've always said before on this channel where the chances are falling to the wrong people. If the chance had fell to Wilson would have scored that. And the last few games, you can't really say that. There's been quite a few fantastic chances that have fallen to Wilson, and he hasn't put it in the back of the net. I don't know whether it is pressure, the fact that he's now got Isak breathing down his neck for his starting space and stuff. I don't know, but fair dues for the lads. From 2-0 down, we were 2-0 down. I thought it was damage limited. I said before the game, I just didn't go into next week, and obviously where we were in the league, I didn't want to lose. As long as we didn't lose, keep that momentum going a bit, and obviously it keeps Liverpool further back. Obviously, with their game in hand now, providing they win the game in hand, they're 3 points behind, and yes, they're back in that race sort of stuff. But I still wasn't overly impressed with Liverpool, even though apart from that 10-minute spell, but I don't know whether it was Liverpool were outstanding for that 10 minutes. Or were we awful for that 10 minutes? That's because for the rest of the game with 10 men, we gave them a good run for the money, and we carved them open at times as well. And it was, and then they look ruffled a lot. Van Dijk even at the back, Virgil van Dijk, he looked ruffled a few times, unsettled and stuff like that. And they were giving silly corners away and stuff like that. And you think, hold on, you're the ones that are 11 men here. We're the one that's 10 men. You're the one that looks rattled. So I don't know. It was in the back. I can't fault the lads, and if they can keep that team spirit going, and Eddie can work on that, and just say, look, the way he's finished the game, you were all together as a team. I thought Joe Linton had a fantastic game. Bear in mind, he's got that 10th booking yellow card over his head, and the fact that obviously we realistically we only had 2 centre midfielders fit, with him and Longstaff, obviously Bruno suspended, and Willock's injured as well. So that was a hard tightrope for him to walk today, but he had a fantastic game without being. There's a few times he was on the floor and he was winning balls on the floor, and you're thinking, just one of those half seconds too late, he could be getting a booking. But I thought he had a fantastic game. ASM I thought was outstanding today. I don't know what it is. He obviously loves playing against the big six, because you look at that game against Man City at the start of the season, which is probably one of his best performances ever in a black and white shirt. But today, you could see he was trying to get the crowd riled up as well in the first, when we were in that dominant spell, the first 10 minutes, which is something you don't really see from ASM. But he was really, really trying to get the crowd behind him, and they were thanking that as well, and they were trying to get behind him. But even though he can have that sulky phase and stuff like that, for some reason today he didn't. He took that challenge on, thinking, well, look, I'm going to have to, dig deep here for the lads and stuff like that. And he didn't. Some of the chances he created, the chance that, Alisson tipped onto the bar as well. I just thought he was outstanding today. I really, really did.
I think he has to start on Sunday. And the reason why he has to start is because we need a player that can do that. That can go at players consistently and constantly and cause them problems. Like Trent, I don't think Trent's delivery was good today, but defensively, I don't think he was very, very good at all. And that was because he was shit scared of what Alan Saint-Maximin was doing to him. He was genuinely worried and concerned. Now, what you've got at Man United, you've got either Wan-Bissaka or Dalot. And I think ASM can get the better of any one of them, whoever plays at that position, and cause even more problems. And the point that I made before you came on is that although, defensively, Liverpool haven't been great this season, I think individually those players are better than what Man U have to offer. And I think as a defensive unit, we could get at Man United with a far less goalkeeper in De Gea compared to Alisson. I think there'll be opportunities for us to score on Sunday. I really, really do. And I think we need someone like Alan Saint-Maximin to open up the play. He linked really well with Isak at times in the first half. He linked really well with Gordon in the second half when he came on really well. And I just thought that was the Alan Saint-Maximin of old. That was what we wanted. That was kind of very similar to the Man City performance. Even like, I don't know if you remember the goal against Man City at St. James's, where he makes that run in field, plays the ball to Wilson, and Wilson scored off the back of it. He literally plays the identical ball for Miggy Almiron, and Miggy obviously doesn't score because Alisson saves it. It was almost like carbon copy, of that, and it almost felt like that type of game. But today it was just that on 3 occasions we switched off, and 3 individual mistakes. I thought Shaw was at fault for the first one because his positioning was out to let Nunez in. The second one, Trippier should have continued to track his man in Gakpo, and he kind of stops to kind of put him offside. But that then allows Gakpo to take a touch and finish. Whereas if he'd have tracked the run, it'd have been able to stop him. So it was, individual mistakes there, and obviously Pope is Pope. Like, he's obviously made that mistake to get sent off, and like you just said, Richie. Other than that, I do think that at times we were the better team. And Jurgen Klopp in one of his press conferences, I don't think it was a Sky one, might have been another one, even said, like, for long parts, even with 10 men, Newcastle were good. He recognised it. Eddie Howe has said, I can't really fault the team, other than the three incidences. We played well. Like, you can't say that we hadn't, and we did. We did play well. If we'd have played like that last week, we'd have won. Mm. That's the thing. That's the key. So, although we're all disappointed right now, and we're kind of feeling, a bit deflated going into the final week before the cup final, there are some positives to take out of it. And to be fair, lots in the chat have already alluded to that as well. Yeah. But what was a surprise, and Richie, Life Goals has put this question to you. But Richie, thoughts on Richie?
I don't think we had much of an option from the bench today, did we, all this stuff like that? But to be fair, you always know he's going to get a shift. He's going to give you a shift where he puts players on the pitch, whether it be on the right or the left or centre midfield, which is not ideal for him and stuff like that. But Richie's just Richie, do you know what I mean? He's you know what you're going to get. He's not the level going forward what we need to be. Do you know what I mean? He's been a stalwart for us for years now, and everyone's really, really happy for all the work that he's done, and everyone will be fond of him for that. But he's going to be a big part player for the rest of the season. But he came in and did a job for us. What he did, and to be fair, as I said before, all the lads who played today did their part and were fantastic. That were 10 men, and he came and was a part of that as well. So he was, he did well for when he came on.
Yeah, definitely. There was one track back run that he just absolutely sprinted for.
Yeah.
All the way back and managed to clear it. You thought, that is, like you just said, it's like, what he's going to give you. He works so hard, and that was like Richie back in the Championship in the early Premier League when we first got promoted under Rafa days, like where he'd just be back and forth for 90 minutes, just an absolute workhorse. He really was. But there's another question here. There's a few in the chat that have said tonight that top four is done, we're not going to make it, all the rest of it. And Craig Lee's come back with, it's too early to say we're out the top four race. We've been without a few players whilst going through a drought. I still think we'll be there or thereabouts for fourth. Is it too early for you, Rich, to think that we're not going to make top four this season, or still many games left to play?
There's still too many left to play. Obviously, we've got City the next league game. It's an awkward one to approach, because obviously at least we know we're going to have Joe Linton available for it, which I think will be huge in that game. And obviously you're probably going to have all. Obviously Bruno will be back from his suspension as well, and you could potentially have all four of your centre midfielders back. So that's a good thing, because obviously it's going to give a rotation of someone who can come in and make a change and get some fresh legs in there as well. But then you'll pretty much have your full attacking. You'll have Gordon, Miggy, ASN, Isak, Wilson as well. And obviously the only real change you're probably going to have is going to be the suspension. How many games is actually Pope suspended for now? Is it just a straight one game, or is he?
I think it's just one. Like, people in the chat, let us know if it's any different. I'm under the impression it's just the one game, so he just misses the cup final.
See, I wasn't even too sure if you missed the cup final, because obviously they said you couldn't get a card for the final, but obviously everyone's been straight red, is it? So I wasn't too sure. But to be fair, obviously I heard everyone talking about Karius, and from what I've seen of him when he played that, when he played in the over in Saudi Arabia, that he played at half okay, yes, against Saudi opposition, but he looked solid when he played there, and he's a really experienced international goalkeeper. Before he went through that rut, went from the Champions League final, he was back up to Manuel Neuer, him and Ter Stegen. Do you know what I mean? So he's not a bad keeper. He just has. He's one of those people where I think he just needs someone to have some belief in him. And I think if we all get behind him, what if he makes a fantastic save early on? That's gonna, the adrenaline's gonna keep running through him. He's gonna be really up for it. It'll just, if everyone gets behind him, who's to say that all those memories of the Champions League final are eradicated if we go out and win next week? And he gets a winner's medal going up the stairs at Wembley and stuff like that. And people won't ever talk about that again. People will talk about, if he's made a fantastic save, or he saved a penalty or something like that, or he's a last-ditch save for Newcastle to win the game and get their first trophy since 1969. Then you think, what better way to dispel all those demons from the Champions League final? He's got something else to be proud of now and get that hoodoo off his back, sort of thing. So I think I'm not no issue at all with Karius being in goal next week.
Yeah, you said it. You literally, we're saying the same thing. Said earlier on in the show exactly what you said, and I agree with you. Interesting comment from Marco T. Welcome, Marco T, to the channel. Trips has to be dropped, or we will be defeated next Sunday. I don't agree with that personally. I thought Trips was still trying to create chances. He looks, he's had a little bit of dip in form. He looks a little bit tired, but he's still creating chances for Newcastle. Do you agree?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised they took him off, but I think they've just tried to protect him for next week potentially. And obviously, you've got to remember that he's probably one of the older players on the pitch as well, and he's one of the ones that does the most running as well. So the fact that you're down to 10 men and he's having to do a lot more running because obviously you've lost that extra man, so he's having to cover infield a bit as well as going forward, backwards as well. I don't blame him for taking them off and putting fresh legs on. We know that Jacob Murphy can play wing back. He's done before. He's played right back behind, but there's not a cat in hell's chance you're going to drop the captain for next week. The most experienced player. I know there's just no way. You're talking to someone who's played in Champions League finals. You talked about who's played in a European Euros final as well. You can't take out the most experienced head in that Newcastle team. Full stop. You just can't.
I agree. As Bob Husserl quite rightly said, it's crazy talk, but Marco T's come back with Manquillo has a lot more pace than Trips, and if Mank did what Trips did, then he stops playing for the first goal. That's fair enough. That's his opinion, and we're all about opinions on this channel. But personally, I don't agree. Just to answer Terrace's question, we've talked about it already. The goalkeeper conundrum is, Pope is suspended, so he misses the game. Dubravka is cup tied because he played for Man United against, I think, Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup, so therefore he's cup tied for us. And that then leaves Karius and Gillespie. And I think there was an interview with BN Sports with Eddie Howe tonight that he almost alludes to the fact that Karius will start. He didn't in his Sky interview. He kind of put it down the middle, but for BN Sports, he almost alludes to Karius starting in his wealth of experience. So we can all assume that that's going to be the case. A comment, Richie, I'll come to you about this because a comment that's come up continually in the chat, and Daryl, one of the boys I know, has put a comment on. He put Wilson was so disappointing tonight, but to counteract that, there was a comment here from Yano that put Wilson has only trained once this week. He ain't going to be the sharpest if he isn't training. What was, just from your opinion from being in the stadium, with regards to Wilson when he came off the bench?
It's hard to really say because obviously you're coming on with a man down sort of thing. It's mainly about fresh legs, isn't it? Really, just to try and see if you can nick anything and damage limitation. You don't really want to go and yes, the game was gone when it 2-0 pretty much when he came on, but you still don't want to be going to a cup final losing 4-0 or something like that. It's so he ran. Which to be fair, he did quite a bit of that, and there was some good bits of movement, but I think he's right about the sharpness. That it's just that chance. We were already, everyone around us were really, like, we were on our feet. We thought there's no way he's going to miss that, no way, and I can't believe he did. I really can't. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be. you know, I don't know, it's a tough one because he was on fire before the World Cup. You know, that the spell he was in a rich vein of form. Everyone was saying he earned it through his displays, but since then he's had some fantastic, as we said earlier, he's had some fantastic opportunities to, you know, the ball's actually felt on for a change, and he hasn't put them in the back of the net. And when that's predominantly your job on the pitch and you're not doing it, then obviously, you know, I don't really think Isak's had. So I think it's one of those. Do you think Isak would have finished the chances that Wilson's missed? And it's you'd like to say yes, you would, off what you've seen of Isak so far. But then again, it's like it's a difficult one. I don't think I'd be starting him next week. I think I'd be starting Isak. I think Isak did quite well today. I think he's him and his move, but he's got a good link-up player with ASM. You can see there was one the ball that ASM played through. I think it was in the second half, and Isak got the ball just inside the 18-yard box, and he turned and hit it left foot and just went over the top left-hand corner. But the ball through from ASM, it was like an eye through a needle because obviously we were right on the 18-yard line. It was a fantastic ball. And bear in mind that Isak was the only player that was supporting him as well. So they've obviously got that connection. We've mentioned this before. They've been working and training to try and build up a relationship that when they're on the pitch together, because 9 times out of 10, when they've both been come off the bench, they've been come off the bench together. So they are playing, so they know what they prefer to do movement-wise, where they're going to run, and you know where they want the ball to be played and stuff like that. And you can see that between the two of them. But at the minute, Wilson just doesn't seem to be on, I don't know, on the same level as anyone at the minute, the same wavelength as anyone. It's a weird one at the minute, but it could be down to the fact that he's hardly trained all weekend. You see, he's been seeming to have a few niggles since he's come off the World Cup as well. He obviously illness as well, and obviously had that little hamstring tweak. I don't know if that was obviously the issue, but and it's in the back of his mind that his hamstring's going to go again. I don't know whether that's something that's going on as well. But no, it's difficult. You don't like to say from Wilson because everyone loves Callum Wilson, but it's like as he says, life goal says that Wilson's got a bit unfortunate. Yeah, he's 31. You know, the amount of hamstring injuries he's had. It's one hamstring injury can knock you to lose your pace or whatever, something like that. And he's done it a few times now. And you know, perhaps it's just a bit of confidence in his own body, let alone confidence in front of goal. You know what I mean? So if you're not confident in your own body.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I know that more than anyone. My hamstrings were torn left, right.
My knee's an ankle, mate. I know exactly this. My knee's an ankle.
And it really does affect you. But look, the one thing I'll say to counteract Life Goals' point with regards to Wilson is that regardless of what we think of him, I think he's played in 15, 16 games this season and got 10 goal contributions, 7 goals, 3 assists. So even though we're kind of questioning, you know, is Wilson still the guy? 10 goal contributions this season, not bad. Only Miggy has more. I think Miggy's got 11. He's still the guy that's producing these moments over the course of the
season. I think that this put the spin on that though. Is that the fact that people haven't been taking the chances around him though? Because obviously he's been poor since the World Cup. So this is probably one of the reasons why we're going through this barren spell, not scoring goals, because Miggy went through that run there, and you know everyone said you'd love that run to continue for Miggy, but everyone knew it was going to stop at some point, and then you needed someone else to step up. But the problem is Wilson hasn't been on fire since he came back. And there's nobody else been really stepping up around it. You look at some of the people who've scored goals. Isak's obviously, you know, it helped Wilson for that goal against Fulham. And that's one of the goals we scored. We couldn't break down Leeds at home. You know, West Ham, we should really be beating them at home, but we weren't taking our chances. Same with Bournemouth last week. We're just not taking our chances. You know, Longstaff scored a couple of goals from midfield. Joe Linton scored a couple of goals from midfield in this spell. And you start to think if those hadn't been getting goals, you know, we're struggling full stop. We're not even getting any centre-backs getting any goals like we used to. It's, you know, even though we've got such a... And I know this was in an article in one of the local papers this week, that Newcastle have got such a tall defence, but there's been no goals from corners from any of them. If you look at Dan Burn, Botman, and Shaw, obviously Shaw got that screamer on the opening day of the season against Forest. But when you've got a 6'3", 6'5", and 6'7" technically centre backs in the opposition box, then surely they should be getting on the end of it. And obviously Dan Burn, to give him his dues, was unlucky today. A couple of inches further down, it's in the roof of the net. Do you know what I mean? So it's you've got to give him his dues. His radar seems to be on a little bit better now. There's been a few where they've been yards high or yards wide and stuff like that. But we really need a goal scorer again on fire. I think we've said a few times this season that ASM is playing for his place going forward from the rest of this season. It could be the case for Callum Wilson as well, mainly just due to his age.
Yeah. Natural progression of the squad, natural progression of the team. It has to happen. And players that we've become accustomed to playing week in, week out will eventually find themselves at the club. It's as simple as that. John Joe Shelby being that classic example, no doubt. Right, there's some interesting points been made here. Lots and lots of interesting points. I just want to squash this comment here from old angry new gamer. Karius is injured. He definitely isn't. He's been in training. I think someone else has alluded to that in the chat as well. So he's definitely fit to play. So we don't want those concerns being circulated that he's potentially injured, and that would just leave Gillespie as the only goalkeeper to play. So that isn't the case. Where was Ashby? Ashby's not been in any of the squads since he signed, and Eddie Howe's alluded to that already. Because West Ham knew he was leaving, they didn't play him in the first team squad at all. They didn't give him any minutes, so he needs to get fit. Eddie Howe's mentioned that a couple of times in his press conferences. So you'll probably see, in my opinion, Richie, you might have a different opinion. I think we'll see Ashby play or start to be really integrated during pre-season, in my opinion. I don't know if you think anything different, Richie.
You might see. I think the fact that obviously Manquillo was back on the bench today. Obviously, that's a bonus because that means at least we've got cover for someone who's experienced cover rather than cover, because obviously Ashby's cover as well. We've got experienced cover if anything was to happen to Trips, but I don't know. It's a funny one. You might get some more squad things once he gets up to speed in training, but also if he can get a few under 23 games under his belt as well, a few matches, or if they have any any behind closed door friendlies or something like that. But I think that we might see him in some squads going forward towards it. But I agree, you'll probably see him integrated properly, as in you are Trippier's cover from the next season.
No, fair point. Team review. Paul, hope you're well. We'll be on with Paul Unloaded tomorrow night, so check that one out. That's for sure. And Paul's put, I'm really proud of the lads today. 2 poor goals and a red card, but heads never dropped, and they worked their asses off onto Wembley. Just as myself and Richie have said, exactly the same. We can't fault the lads. After the goals and the red card, they were absolutely spot on. That's for sure. Craig Leapold, surprised Gordon didn't start, especially as he can't play next week, and it was Liverpool. Do you agree?
Yeah. I was, when the Ben told us that Anderson was playing, I was shocked, and I know you've already mentioned that as well. You were surprised. It was screaming out for Anthony Gordon playing that number 10 role today. He looked good when he came on. You talked about someone who's just left Everton, who always raises his game when he's playing Liverpool, and to bring him on 2-0 down with 10 men. Did he have a good game when he came in? Yeah, he had a fantastic game when he came in. His movement, his passing, and he's starting to get relationship with the players around him and how they want to play, and how as you do when you get used to you move clubs and stuff like that. So for me, I was really, really surprised, especially with the bodies that we've got out and stuff like that. And as you're right, he's cup tied next week, so it has that ability of keeping somebody else potentially fresh, or and stuff like that. But yeah, I was bemused. And to be fair, I did feel sorry for Elliot Anderson having to go off. He gets his first Newcastle start and has to go off because Pope gets sent off. But to be fair, it was the logical choice because you had to keep your most experienced team out there. And unfortunately, he was the least experienced player on the pitch, so he had to make way, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, we've got 250 watching still in the chat. Massive thanks for everyone tuning in. It's not been the best result today, but we always react regardless. And click that like. And if you haven't subscribed, we've got so many new people in the chat tonight. So click that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to Loaded Mag NUFC. And we will continue the content throughout. That is for sure. Going to fly through some questions now because so many in the chat are supporting everything Loaded Mag NUFC. We'll go to a couple of questions. So we've had the Gordon one. We'll go to this one here. What Darryl wants to know is name your starting 11 for the final and the tactics. But with time permitting, we can just go to the starting 11. So what are you going for with regards to your starting 11, Richie?
Well, it looks as though it's going to be Karius who's going to be between the sticks due to the fact that obviously Pope's suspended and Dubravka's cup tied. Mainly, obviously it would be a fantastic achievement if Gillespie, a local goal, a local lad getting to be in goal for his hometown club in a major cup final. It'd be a dream for him, but you've got to be realistic here. You need your most experienced players on the pitch, and Karius has got hands down more experience than Gillespie. So obviously you have to go with Karius in that front.
I've put the back four there as a starter. Would you change any of those?
No. No. Not at all.
So, which is why I left it there. So you've got your back five sorted.
Yeah.
Now,
I think one of the good things though is that it looks like Target could be back for next week. So we've got another option if Burn's struggling, because obviously you've got to look at the fact that I know you mentioned it briefly before, that Rashford's on fire at the minute, and he could potentially, if he moves out to that right, he could give Burn a torrid time next week. But if you look at the midfield, I think the midfield has to be Big Joe, Bruno, and Longstaff.
Okay, so you've said Big Joe, and where's Bruno? Bruno's here
down the bottom.
There he is, hidden away. Are you playing them like this? Joe left, Bruno here. Where are you positioning them?
I think you have to I think you're really going to play Bruno in the slightly deeper role, because Joe Linton on that left hand side is good for cover for Burn as well. Especially when it looks like Maxi's going to be playing on the left, so you need that cover. And he's used to helping Burn cover, and also he's a good outlet for Burn as well when Burn gets the ball as well. So I would keep Joe Linton in there. You want the legs in there, which is why I'd go Longstaff on the other side, because obviously there's talk Wilson could be fit. Willock could be fit for next week, but I thought Longstaff had a pretty decent game today as well. Bear in mind, it was only him and Joe Linton. So for me, that's your middle, that's your midfield next week.
Let's get these pricks off the pitch, because I don't want to see any on here. I'll delete them shortly after the show. No doubt about that. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Let's get this guys off the pitch. Okay, these are the ones that matter. So there's your midfield three, Richie. Right. I'm going to spread these guys out. Who are you going for up top? You've got these guys here. We can throw Murphy in there. We've got Anderson in there. Who are you going for?
I'm going for Isak down in the middle.
Okay.
I'm going for Almiron on the right.
Yep.
And ASM on the left.
Okay. Now, Gordon is cup tied, so he's not involved in this conversation anyway. Okay. Interesting. So that's the team that you're going for.
I think if you look, obviously, you look at Wilson's potential. I say Willock's potentially going to be there as well. So it means you've actually got a few options from the bench as well, which is it's good for a change. That like we've said, we've got a core 14 or 15 players that we could rely on this season. So it's obviously you've got Gordon that you can add in the mix in the league, but if you want to have options, as in you've got Wilson, Willock, Target if Burns having a bad day, he's back as well. Murphy, you know what you get from Murphy as well. Do you know what I mean? He's a workhorse. Yes, if he's going to be in front of goal, he's probably not going to score, but he's some of his movement's good. He can put a decent ball in. He put I say that, but he put an absolute awful ball in today. He just couldn't get his foot round it at all and put it straight behind the goal. But I just think that team with who's fit and stuff like that, it picks itself. That for me is anyway.
You take Karius out of that conversation, and like you said earlier, Richie, he's not a bad goalkeeper. You look at his past, his history, and what he's done, albeit the Champions League final. You look at that team. That's a team that could win the cup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously, we're disappointed about the Liverpool game and all the rest of it and losing Pope, but that right there is a team that can win the cup. There is no doubt about it. And like you said, those five that you see at the top, you got Anderson, Wilson, Willock, Target, Murphy. That could be your five subs coming off the bench, like if you need them. You know what I mean? So it's you could probably throw the likes of Fraser in there, Matt Ritchie if you really wanted to. You've got options. And like I say, the bench isn't the worst in the world. You've got Willock and Wilson that would definitely come on. Like you said, Target potentially. I'm inclined to go with that team. However, I think this is how we'll start. I just think Howe will stick with Wilson. I really do. And if he proves his fitness over the course of the week, he'll start him. But if you're asking me, I'm with you, Richie. I go with this. I go with this. I think this is the team that could bring the cup home, personally. But yeah, it's interesting. People in the chat, get your questions in. Do you agree with our assessment of the starting 11, or do you think it might be anything different? Let's go for it. But look, moving on very, very quickly, we'll throw a few questions out there. 1 second. I can hear something in the background. 1 second. It says here, Craig Lee says, we're shit set pieces. They were awful, and we should have got at least one from a set piece. Is that a concern?
Yeah, I mentioned it before. The fact that you look at the Dan Burn, Sven Botman, and Fabian Schär, 6-3, 6-5, and 6-7, and none of them have scored from a set piece. Our last set piece that we scored from was Joe Linton against Leicester on Boxing Day. So you look at we should be, at least making the keeper work, but we're not. They're not. That's the problem. Sometimes I think Trippier's been fantastic, and we know he's always the set piece taker. I think occasionally we need to try something different from a free kick. Perhaps let someone else take it, because sometimes his delivery hasn't been what it has been before. This season it hasn't been as great at times. So the lads haven't been able to get on the end of it. It hasn't. Sometimes we used to always be critical of Shelvey not being able to beat the front man and stuff like that. Plenty of times before in the past, and it's that's happened a few times. But we'll see it be a bit more lenient because being Kieran Trippier, and we know he can have a decent free kick or a decent corner the majority of the time. So. But yeah, it is a big, everyone keeps saying, you hear the commentators say all the time, there's plenty of height in the team. We should be doing so much better. And perhaps it's something they need to work on and train a bit more. I don't know how much they do work on it and train, but it's definitely something that they need to look at.
Yeah, definitely. You were there at the game today. What did you make of Liverpool fans singing "You Never Walk Alone" during the Christian extra applause? Not sure myself. We did sing the Blading Races on the Hillsborough anniversary, though. What were your thoughts on that?
It was a really weird one, because there was people around me who were like saying, F off Liverpool fans and stuff like that. You know, you shouldn't be doing that. We're trying to have a mark of respect for Christine Atsu and stuff like that. But it's also that's their song for remembering people as well. So it was a weird one because, you know, some people thought, you know, you shouldn't really be singing it, making it about yourself. But I don't think people were looking at it like I was looking at it more as in that's the song that they sing for people who live long in their memory. You know, like you talk about like Shankly and stuff like that. And I appreciated the gesture, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was actually touching him. But, you know, it's big, you know, like obviously I know Jonathan's mentioned there with Blade and Races. I think that's a bit different to, you know, a song which for me is they're talking about remembering people and stuff like that. Blade and Races is a completely different song to You'll Never Walk Alone. So, you know, because it could be anything that reaches out to the family, the fans, the team, that you'll never walk alone, that you've lost one of your own, sort of stuff like that. There's loads of different meanings to that song. With Blade and Races is a completely different song. So I didn't mind it, if I'm honest. I thought it was actually quite a bit of a nice touch, but
I did as well. So I agree with you with regards to that. I thought it was a nice touch, and it was their way of remembering someone who had passed away. I didn't think it was a bad thing. Newcastle fans are really good at doing it at away grounds when something happens with the club that we're playing against. We're always really very, very respectful. I think it was respect shown in my opinion. So I know you agree as well, Richie. Swanky Wags has put, there's some right whinges in here, negative Nellies. That team was immense today with 10 men. One or two with different opinions in the chat. Some of us don't agree, lots of us don't agree, but yeah, everybody is entitled to their opinion, and that's for sure. But just remember, Man U have to play tomorrow, and then Barcelona Thursday. Wilson has become our new Andy Carroll. I don't know about that in terms of being a sick note. I don't think he's that bad. But J7 today had to be literally dragged off. And I don't know if you saw it, Richie, but when he was taken off, Howe saying to him, I did it for you. I did it for you in terms of bringing him off, because he was worried that when he took his shot, he had a shot that was blocked.
Yeah, he was rubbing his hamstring a bit, wasn't he? It was
above his hamstring. It was almost like his bum, like he was just over slightly. So it was a slight strain. I don't think it was his hamstring, but I don't think at that point Eddie Howe
was probably knackered. To be fair, the amount of ground he had to cover with extra, you know, a man down. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we're playing someone like the lower end of the table, which we're talking about. You know, Liverpool side have got some fantastic players in. And you've got to remember when, I think it was on the 60-minute mark, they took 4 players off and brought 4 players on. So you didn't even get any respite on that front, you know what I mean? And it was 2 front players and 2 midfielders that came on. So it was fresh legs affecting the position he was in. He had an outstanding shift today.
Yeah, he was. He was very, very good. That is for sure. And look, just a couple of comments just to end it off. Life Goals puts, the last bad run involved a loss to Liverpool and 2 draws, then suddenly a run of 6 wins. Fingers crossed we can do the same again. And would I eat there? Put at the end of the season, if we haven't secured Champions League place, we still have progressed and achieved more than anyone believed possible. So I, for one, would not be downhearted, and you can't not agree with some of those comments. And lastly, Daryl has put question 2. What is everyone's plans for next weekend, including the hosts? I'm meeting up with Geordies down south and a few Man United fans at the sports bar in London. Any particular plans for you, Richie, on Sunday?
All my mates are going to the game. All the Newcastle ones are anyway. And my father-in-law's in Lanzarote, so it's just going to be me and the Ben glued to the TV. So that just, do you know what? I you know, there's options. People always say about, would you like a ticket? And I said I wouldn't go without the Ben. For me, it's experience, and you'll know this with having your kids as well. I know how much it meant to you when you took your daughter for the first time, and you know it's for me. I couldn't live with going to Wembley and leaving him at home, sort of thing. So it's for me. I wanted to experience it. You know, if Newcastle win their first cup for God knows how long, and to get to do it with watching with my Ben sitting next to us, it would mean the world to us. So that's what I'll be doing next week.
Yeah, definitely. I'm heading down to London on the train. Got with my really good friends who I grew up with, who are Man United season ticket holders. They're going down, but I'll be meeting. I think Chris is down there in London, so hopefully meeting with him and watching a game in a pub in London somewhere. But where that will be, who knows? If I get a ticket in between that time, I might be in Wembley. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that comes to fruition. But if not, look, we'll be enjoying it regardless. That is for sure. A few shows coming up. We said Toon Review will be on tomorrow night, so get involved in that show. We've got Alex Hurst with us from the True Faith on Monday evening to discuss all the fallout and everything going on from there. And then we've got the Chronicle Boys, Andrew Musgrove and Aaron Stokes coming to join us on a Tuesday evening. So lots and lots packed in for Loaded Mag and UFC. And look, just before we go, we have to say a massive thanks to our sponsors. I remember this time, Richie. Massive thanks to the radiatorshed.com for all their support, Russ and everyone associated for all of their classic radiators. And of course, they're aluminium rads, very environmentally friendly and perfect for heat source pumps. And they offer home surveys and will install if required. And check them out. And whilst you're there, check out the Install Works, the North East Partnership, the Install Works, a massive supporter of the channel as well. And continue to support all things Loaded Mag and UFC. If you haven't become a member, click that blue button you can see on the screen through your laptop and become a member. As I mentioned before, we had a new member tonight, and there is going to be a prize draws coming along very, very shortly. And lastly, H2O bathroom designs. Get in and show your support for everything H2O. We showed these designs the other day, and they're just outstanding. If you're not interested in getting a bathroom from these guys, and I don't know what you're doing, because these are the guys to go for. Look at the finish and the quality that they provide. So get involved in H2O and bathroom designs. Guys and girls, that's it. That's the review done and dusted. Thank you for everyone joining us. Well over 250 joining us for the majority of that show. Richie, thank you for jumping straight on after you come back. James, I really do appreciate it. And everyone in the chat, questions, the lot. It's been amazing. So thank you. On what's been a disappointing result tonight, but let's get on to the cup and let's bring it home. We'll be covering it all week, so stick with Loaded Mag and UFC. Good night, everyone, and how'd you like that?
Tell me,
Drink it, like me, then tell me if you like that, like that.